just about there. And yeah, we're there live.
Sweet. Okay. Here we are. Welcome to the Tessa Van Wade Show. It is Tessa and Ben.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's Thanksgiving tomorrow.
It is Happy Thanksgiving,
Happy
everybody.
Thanksgiving.
By the time this is up, maybe it will, well, the live stream obviously will be up right away.
Right.
It's up right now. And apparently we already have one person watching. That's cool.
Sweet.
But hopefully I'll get the actual podcast audio up by tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's my goal.
Oh, really? Great.
I know it's a long shot, but because it's pretty late here in Hawaii. So that means most of our friends on the mainland are already sleeping.
Yeah.
Dreaming of their feast tomorrow.
Thanksgiving to me,
we're jumping right into what Thanksgiving means.
I have lots of different reactions when I say this, but Thanksgiving is not my favorite.
Okay. Why?
Well, it's funny because
I mean, I think I can understand that. It's not Christmas. So
no,
because Christmas is the best.
Because you're obsessed with Christmas. No, Thanksgiving is not my favorite because when I was a kid and all throughout the time I was a kid, Thanksgiving, all it meant to me was that I would be in the only thing interesting to do besides watching 10,000 football games. I mean, literally, my brothers would be jumping they would be jumping from this football game to that football game to that. Like, I'd be like, how many football games are going on at once?
And we're talking about, this was like the 80s and 90s. That's pretty impressive because we only had like 6 channels back then.
Yeah.
Because you didn't have cable, right?
Yeah. Well, no, my grandparents had cable.
Oh, right. And so maybe they had a few more options.
It just was funny because we were always at my grandparents. We celebrated with my grandparents every year.
Right.
And so it was really funny because they would jump from one football game to the next, and I would be sitting on the couch just like bored out of my mind. I remember I would try to like play card games with my grandma before it was time to cook, but like on Thanksgiving, most of the day you're cooking. Why are you smiling and laughing?
It's not my memory of Thanksgiving at all, because I never cooked anything at Thanksgiving.
I don't even want to. That is like not my experience. So the only thing that I had to do was I would go in and I would help my grandmother cook all the food and all that stuff. Now,
somebody had to, right?
My brothers weren't going to do it. There was no way.
Because in your house, that was like the woman's job, right?
Yeah. Like my brothers weren't going to do it. So no. My grandfather, he was out in his garage. He would be like, he'd be in his chair. Like, I don't know. They would all kind of sit out in the living room talking.
Would your grandma, would she have wanted him in there? I wonder.
Oh, no.
Like just on a whim, if he was like, "Hey, Lou, can I help you?" I don't know what voice that is.
I don't know, but that wasn't my grandfather.
It's more like, "Hey, Lou,
no,
you want me to come in and?"
Ben, when did my family become super country, like Alabama? Like this is not.
Okay, that was a little too much twang. It's more like, I don't know. I shouldn't go there.
No.
Anyway, what do you think would have happened if he went in and like offered his help?
I think my grandmother would have been really uncomfortable because I think that she was taught her whole life that men didn't help. And so she would have felt uncomfortable that she was forcing, like, no, like go sit down, of course.
Yeah.
But that was my experience of it, is that outside I'm listening, or on the other side, I'm listening to my brothers listening to or watching every football game there is to man. And I'm in there doing all of this work on the kitchen and working on setting the table and cooking all the food with my grandmother. And while those are really good memories in a sense, there's also a bad set of memories with it too, of then we would all go in to eat, and immediately after I would help clean up as well.
Yeah.
And that was the only entertaining thing to do. If I went out to the living room, I would literally just have to watch football.
Yeah, and you need to also set the stage. The setting was this is in Central California in the winter, so it's
Yeah.
cold outside.
Yeah.
So all the doors are closed and the windows are closed, and your grandfather was a chain smoker,
Yeah.
and they kept the house at about 97 degrees.
Yeah.
So it was not only roasting hot, it was full of smoke.
Do you remember, like, there was one time when, of course you remember, but there were several times we stayed the night there, but we made the mistake of all of us staying there on a winter night.
Yeah.
And we kept waking up in the middle of the night and like coming out, and all of us would meet in the living room soaking.
Yeah, we
And
started
one of
opening the windows.
well, one of my brothers turned down the thermostat, and reminds me of Daddy's home.
Yeah.
And
They've done this in
one
movies.
of my brothers turned down the thermostat, and like my grandpa came out a little bit later and turned it right back up. I
Yeah.
mean, I sat outside in the cold,
Yeah, we would
wintry
literally
air
sit outside just to cool down.
at night.
I think that's common though. I think old people just get really cold, so they keep the heat up, I guess.
I think so. I think
But
that
it didn't help that it was also like it was like being in a Vegas casino with all the smoke.
Yeah.
And it was like it was too much. But I have very fond memories of those times.
Oh, totally. But that's why I say there's good and there's bad memories, right? And to me, Thanksgiving meant a lot of football. So it was different than Christmas Day. Thanksgiving was kind of a day I just wanted to like, and I was the only girl. And like, I don't think my brothers even ever understand what that was like to only be, I may as well have just been an only child, to be honest.
Well, no, because if you were an only child, who would have ridiculed you?
Totally.
Who would have tortured you?
I don't know. I don't know. I might have had a better self-esteem for sure.
In all honesty, I don't remember my childhood Thanksgivings.
You win.
I'm trying to remember. I remember all my Christmases because, that's my thing. But
did you go somewhere in particular for Thanksgiving?
I can't remember. I know that on Christmas, this is going to be so depressing.
Don't depress everybody.
At Christmas time,
it was share your truth, Ben.
At Christmas time, it was like Christmas Eve, we were with my mom.
Okay.
Because we celebrated Christmas Eve. We opened our presents at my mom's house on Christmas Eve. That's where I lived. Like I lived with my mom full time.
Okay.
And then Christmas
at 6 years old.
Yeah, from like 6 to 16.
Okay.
But Christmas morning, we would wake up, get stockings because, Santa came.
Sure.
And then at some point, I don't remember if it was Christmas Day or the next day. I don't remember. We would go to my dad's house and like have sad Christmas where we got to watch our stepbrother and sister open all the presents.
Right. And you guys got a mug full of nuts.
Yeah. So that was fun.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't remember Thanksgiving though. I'm pretty sure I spent them with my mom. I can remember like one Thanksgiving we did up at our family cabin.
Okay.
We had a cabin up in, if you're familiar with California, and it's not as fancy as it sounds, but it was up in like Carmel Valley near Monterey. And Carmel is a very ritzy, rich town. And that wasn't us. We just had a little cabin in like a dinky cabin up in the hills. And we like packed all of our food and had Thanksgiving up there, which was exciting because being stuck in one room for 5 days with 7 people.
One room?
Well, it's like, a cabin is like you have one main room. It's
Were
small.
there no bedrooms?
There was one bedroom for my parents. But then there was like a loft and stuff. So anyway, I think we did a Thanksgiving up there once. And I think we did a Christmas up there too. Yeah, because Santa came and remembered where we were at the cabin.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Interesting.
It's interesting.
The memories are coming back. Anyway, all this to say, I know I'm going on way too long about this, but yeah, I have no real memory of Thanksgiving as a kid.
Okay, well,
I know it
think
existed.
about the food. I mean, you didn't help with the food.
I didn't watch football. I didn't help with the food.
What were you
I
doing?
don't know. I honestly don't know.
Probably hitting your brother in the back of the head.
We were probably fighting. My mom was probably sending us outside
Yeah.
because we were torturing each other. I don't know.
Yeah.
I remember Thanksgiving after my parents moved away and I was on my own in high school because I went with like friends. I went to
Yeah.
friends' houses for Thanksgiving.
Friendsgiving, that's what
Yeah.
it's called.
Yeah. So anyway, now that everybody's sad,
Well,
we're gonna have a fantastic Thanksgiving this year.
I started talking about that because that is my memory and that is my experience of Thanksgiving. I did not love. To me, it's just not a day that I loved. However, I do love thanking for things, like being
Well, you love
thankful for
Thanksgiving
things.
now, right?
But yes,
Oh,
what I
I'm
was
sorry. Am I cutting ahead?
I was gonna say that I have
Sorry, I'm
been
spoiling
lucky to have 2 daughters who don't care about football.
Not just that. You have a husband who couldn't give a rat's behind about football.
You can say ass.
No, this is. I mean, can we?
Yeah, why couldn't
Now
you?
I have to put explicit because you said that. I'm gonna have to beat that out. Sorry, folks. Take your kids away.
Really?
No, I'm kidding.
Oh, I don't know anything about that. So, but no, I think
I do not care about football.
that's true. You don't care about football. We love baseball, but you don't care about football.
Yeah, but during Thanksgiving for us now, because we're a Christmas family, as you can tell by our Christmas Starbucks drinks,
Starbucks.
it's like 7:00 at night and we're having decaf mint mocha.
Well, and I'm in Hawaii and I was feeling cold.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got my Carhartt plaid flannel on here.
Yeah.
I'm roasting.
Are you?
Yeah, the AC
We got the AC on.
strong enough.
That's funny.
What was I saying? Oh yeah,
You got to stop doing that.
Thanksgiving.
Yes.
So now our kids are growing up. Thanksgiving is called pre-Christmas. So like
Thanksgiving is the kickoff to Christmas.
yeah, it's like the pre-meal,
yeah.
the meal that's going to prepare us
Yeah.
for the Christmas season.
Yeah.
And last year, if you remember, we had 2 Thanksgivings
Yeah.
because your brother was in town.
Yeah.
So we had a Thanksgiving with family,
Yeah.
and then we had a Thanksgiving with our neighbors who are
Yeah.
our best friends.
My brother was there for like 2 days.
Yeah.
That was
And
exciting.
they couldn't be there on Thanksgiving, so we did Thanksgiving with our neighbors, which we're going to do this year again. And then so last year was great because we had 2 days, and the first day we didn't have to do anything because our neighbor cooks everything. So
Yeah.
we just kind of showed up with some wine, I think, and maybe some
Yeah.
appetizers. This year, we'll see.
Well, there's going to be like 13, 16 people there.
Yeah, it's going to
at
be
Chris
more
and
of
David's
a,
next
more of
door.
a party.
But anyway, that's all boring, I'm sure. People are like, what are you
Who
doing?
cares?
Yeah, who cares? But it is interesting because I looked up Thanksgiving facts. I wish I had more battery, but for some reason I have been losing battery very quickly on my phone,
You
and
gotta
I
update
don't
your
know
phone.
why. I must need to update my phone. 56 funny Thanksgiving jokes that everyone will find hilarious.
Are we going to do all 56?
We'll tell all 56, and that will be the only podcast
The
we do. You can't look though.
Babe, I can't read that far away. I'm blind.
Oh, what do Thanksgiving and Halloween have in common?
They both have pumpkins.
One has gobblers and the other one
no.
has goblins.
And that's the end of that segment, right? That's terrible.
No.
Are you going to vet any of these? Or are you just going to read them?
I don't know. Why are you so... Oh, what did the mother turkey say to her disobedient children?
Something about chopping their heads off and cooking them for Thanksgiving.
If your father could see you now, he'd turn over in his gravy.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so this reminds me, I don't know why this reminds me. Do you remember elementary school during Thanksgiving time?
Yeah.
Like doing the hand turkey?
The hand turkeys?
Yeah. What,
Oh.
you know,
Yeah.
If I could just go back in time.
You know, one time when my girls were little and like they didn't they weren't in school yet, we did all of that. I had them do all the crafts that I remembered
Yeah, you were
from
really
Thanksgiving.
see, that's why moms are so important because I would never think to do that for our children.
Oh, they made all sorts of things that were very like a ship,
Although
a
I think
turkey.
I think what helped with that is that was like Pinterest's heyday when we were young parents.
I was really never that into Pinterest.
Yeah, but it was like easy to look up like crafty stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess. What is a pumpkin's favorite sport?
You know, it's funny whenever I hear a joke like this, I feel such pressure to defeat the joke
I
by
know.
having the answer.
Why do you think that this is fun for people because of the actual jokes? Or do you think this is fun for people to look on and be like, look at Ben try and figure this out? Like,
all
Ben is
honesty-
more funny over this than.
In all honesty, I wonder if people are enjoying this at all.
Don't answer it. What is the pumpkin's favorite sport?
It's gotta be something about pie or seeds.
Squash.
Squash. Oh gosh. That one I should have gotten.
I know.
I should have gotten that one.
I know.
But I don't think of squash as a sport. I don't even know what squash is.
One
It's
last
something
one.
to do with a ball.
One last one. What kind of face does a pilgrim make when he's in pain?
A turkey face? I don't know.
Pilgrimus.
So stupid.
Where do they come up with this? What was the turkey suspected of? Foul play.
I thought you said only one more.
I know, but then that one came up and it was super easy.
I think the pilgrims are like to blame for a lot of the really horrible things in our American history, right?
Totally.
Do we want to go there?
No. But we will agree.
Let's not get into colonialism. I think we can all decide it was a really bad time
Totally.
for human
You know, there have been a lot.
humankind.
I know how to segue this because there have been a lot of bad times in human history.
Yeah.
Let's just say humans are not necessarily, we don't make the right decisions much of the time.
I think the best day on earth was before humans came. I mean, think about it.
Yeah, I guess
Think about it.
there were some really scary things before humans came.
I don't know. It depends on
Oh,
where you
I
were.
guess you could say that
I think-
humans are the scariest
I
thing.
think you're picturing like Jurassic Park, which is
I
not,
was.
It's not how it is. you know?
Oh. I mean, you have a t-shirt that has Jesus riding a Tyrannosaurus Rex, so
It could happen.
it totally.
Not just a t-shirt. I actually ripped off the sleeves. So it's like a muscle shirt. It's a
Why did
muscle
you
tee.
rip off the sleeves?
Because it's such a redneck shirt already. Like with the
Is redneck okay to say?
I don't think any redneck would be offended by me saying that because rednecks are either self-proclaimed or don't realize they're rednecks. So they don't take offense.
Well, you call me that all the time. So
I've never called you a redneck. I say you're a country girl. There's a difference.
no,
Anyway, I
no,
took the
you've
sleeves
definitely
off.
called me redneck.
I took the sleeves off to make it more white trash.
That may be what you've called me.
I've never ever called you white trash.
Oh, that's funny. I don't know.
No.
You called me something, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
But
country.
anyway, throughout history, let's not throw any blame. Let's not throw any shade at people. Let's just say it like it is. Let's lay it out on the table. Humans, no matter
Suck.
what kind of no matter what kind of human, no matter what way.
What kind of human? Are there more than one kind?
Happy, sad, left-handed, right-handed. Like, what are
Uh-oh.
you? Why is that weird?
I was thinking like different species of humans. Like
Does that exist?
it used to.
I think that's more about you than me because that was weird. I can say what kind of human, and I think pretty much most everybody understands what I'm saying, but you suddenly we have different species of humans to you.
I didn't know what you meant. Are you just talking about like diversity?
Sure.
Okay.
Oh,
I'm just trying to understand fully.
I'm wondering why you're not understanding fully.
Okay, anyway. I'll catch up. Just
Will you?
keep going. Yeah.
Okay. So we're laying it out on the table, Ben. Humans have often made really bad choices
It's
and
what we're
done
best
lots of
at.
horrible things. And we will obviously we will uplift this at some point. But what's interesting is when we can kind of just make a blanket statement like that most humans we have really failed at certain points. That is what we do. It's what we do is our psyches are so interesting and intricate and deep that we constantly find ourselves in places of doing wrong. And then add to that everybody's experience of wrong is different. Like everybody's idea of black and white or wrong and right, is totally different. So you have this constant running idea that we're supposed to live very harmoniously on this earth, but we've all kind of recognized that humans do a lot of damage to the earth and to each other.
I don't think that everybody would agree that we have to live harmoniously.
Okay, what did I say?
I think that's a perspective too of like humans should live harmoniously.
You don't want
But
humans to
but
live harmoniously?
clearly there are, whether it's like factions or governments or groups of people that don't think we should live harmoniously. There's always been
Like literally don't live harmoniously? That's the weirdest thing.
no, there's always been groups of people, whether it's legitimate groups like in charge or not, that want to put some other groups underneath them, like a caste system. And they say that's like the natural way of it, which I don't agree with.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that like that is what you said about everybody living in harmony is like a dream, but it's also kind of a perspective in and of itself.
Huh.
Did I just make it totally like,
Well,
did I just steal all the
the wind out of
buildup?
my
Yeah,
sails.
yeah.
A little bit because I was
Human
like,
nature is to like promote oneself sometimes above others. We're tribal.
right.
Right?
So yes, we're tribal and I think what you're saying is actually going along with what I'm saying already is some
Yeah.
people want to
Like,
live harmoniously and some people don't.
we're naturally
And some people want to
suspicious.
be this way and some people want to be this way. And we find the hardest time accepting each other wherever we're at, right?
Yeah, humans tend to be suspicious of other humans that aren't like them.
Correct. So it is interesting because I was having the thought, I did a post on Instagram like 1 or 2 nights ago and I was just talking about the fact of knowing my worth, right? And I think that that's one of the biggest reasons why humans have trouble with other humans is because we all kind of sit in the idea of like not knowing our worth, which creates this kind of bottomed out kind of insecurity and just like not a sense of self and all of that, right? So it is interesting because I've been working really hard at trying to what's
Nice.
that?
Those are called trolls.
Oh, great.
We got some trolls on our YouTube channel right now. God bless them.
Speaking of humans,
Speaking of rotten, terrible human
sex
people,
and fun, baby. Oh my
Speaking of
gosh.
people that are just the bottom dredges of society, we have trolls trying to interrupt the conversation.
But it is interesting, right?
So knowing your worth, I think there's so much to this because in my perspective, like sometimes I don't know my worth, but that has everything to do with the fact that I wasn't taught directly to know my worth.
Mhm.
It was more like, just always do the right thing, don't make waves,
Mhm.
follow the rules,
Mhm.
be grateful for what you have,
Mhm.
which are all true,
They're all great things.
but it's, the I don't know. I struggle with this one because we're both going through a situation right now where like you and I are very we talked about this a couple episodes ago about being um servants, about
Mhm.
having a servant's heart, about doing the right thing. And the only catch about having a servant's heart a lot of times is people that naturally have a servant's heart, it's like they don't know how to say when they need something
Right.
or ask for, no, this is what I'm I should get,
Yeah.
you
And
know?
that's what I wrote. That's what I wrote in the Instagram post. It was a lot
Yeah.
like that. It's like I don't necessarily like what I have recognized is that I really, really value making other people feel safe and making them feel good. I really value that. And the problem is though that in my quest to value that and make people feel safe, I have actually recognized as I've gotten older that it is at the sake of my safety
Yeah,
sometimes.
so you devalue yourself in order to give value to.
Um, it's funny because I don't think about it as devaluing myself, but I guess it is. Like I don't say like, I don't aggressively talk against myself in order to make somebody else more valuable, but I allow sometimes I allow the behavior of other people or the way that other people act. I kind of just go, I'll just be the one to suck this up and I'm going to move on.
Right, instead of calling them out on it and saying, "Excuse me, but I I deserve more respect than that."
I mean, calling people out is tough. It
Sure.
is a very difficult
Because it's
thing.
awkward.
It's awkward, but yet can it be done? Because I feel like there's got to be a way to become really good at it, right? And still get the response that you want.
I feel like in order to get the response you want, you have to be respected already.
Mhm.
You can't just always call people out on everything
No.
because they're just gonna be like, "Who are you?" You know?
Yeah.
Um,
But this is what we're getting to with knowing your worth and being human and the fact that a lot of us don't know many of us do not know our worth. But then there's an opposite side of like the reason I even talked to you about this is because I was thinking, well, there's a whole idea about like not knowing your worth, but then there's people who really value themselves above everybody else
right.
and they don't care about your
But
worth.
this is not a theme for them because it's not even in their, like,
What's not a thing for them?
they don't think, "Oh, I don't know, do I know my own worth?" Because they're already, like, blasting it out to everybody, right? And
But don't you feel like the most confident people don't ever have to say they're confident? So are
right.
are those people that really
No,
know their worth if they're blasting it out to everybody?
I'm not saying they actually know their worth. I'm saying that I think that the term "know your worth" goes both ways. It's for you if you've earned a place where you should be receiving more compensation or a position or respect or relationship, whatever. On the flip side of that, if you haven't earned those, you should know your worth. And your worth is not up here, it's actually down here. And you need to work on not demanding or being entitled to something.
Well, let's maybe make it a little bit more personal so people can understand a little bit better. Like, for example, I'm just going to throw out something. There's like, let's say in my life, there is, you know, there is a place where I have experienced where most everybody follows along and does the right thing and does the rules and all of that stuff. But then you have the one or two people that they just find every loophole to following the rules. They just
Yeah,
find
those are called opportunists.
yeah, they just find every way to nudge themselves in and not pay for something, or they find every way to like oh, but this is what the rules said, so we're not wrong.
Yeah, they don't
And
break
it's
the
like,
rules, but they fudge them.
technically, sure,
Yeah.
you're not wrong, but come on, let's have some integrity here.
Yeah.
And the problem is that I, over time, have been the one to step back and be like, okay, I get what they're doing. I understand why they're doing it. And I'll just kind of be like, I get it. And so then, but then what I've recognized as I've gotten older, especially owning a business, those people that try to do that, all they do is force my hand in making rules.
Yeah.
And they just force my hand in making them more serious and more. And I don't like being that. I don't want to be that. So, what's weird is that when I do take a stance and I do finally write the rules and say, this is very clear, here you go, there are no more loopholes, then I feel like
You think there are
the
no
bad
more
guy.
loopholes, but they'll find them.
I know, but listen to what I'm trying to say. It's not about that.
Yeah.
It's about
You
me
feel like the bad guy.
feeling like the bad guy,
Yeah.
feeling like I had to give them these rules. But the truth of the matter was, if I knew my worth and I recognized that because it's hard when you don't know your worth, because you automatically take everything on yourself as though it's your problem. It's what
Yeah.
you know. I just think it's an interesting thing that when they jump over these loopholes, which forces my hand in doing something, and then I suddenly, say, okay, I'm going to come up with these so that there are no more loopholes. Here you go. Then I feel bad. But in reality, what I'm trying to do, and this is what the Instagram post was about, not just this one scenario, there's a lot of them, was recognizing that on some days when I'm killing it, I feel good.
Mhm.
And but on most days when everything comes at us hard and aggressively, it's really hard to remember to maintain who you are and knowing who you are in the midst of all of that, because you suddenly go, like, I should be looking at them going, look, you guys found loopholes. You guys forced me to do more. This is me saying, okay, then I've got to do this. And I know myself well enough to know that I'm not doing this aggressively or mean. This is simply the way it's got to be.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with you responding by saying, "This is my business, and I'm gonna run it the way I wanna run it,
Yeah.
because that's why I started this business. It wasn't to be pushed around by somebody like you.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is how it's gonna be,
Mm-hmm.
and you can either be a part of it or not."
Yeah.
And that's really hard to say, because it feels like you're being mean or whatever, but really, you're being honest,
So,
and you're actually showing you're standing in your own power,
yeah.
and you're what you're doing is you're actually setting the tone for the relationship. You're taking your power back,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really hard to do.
So let's give some let's try and come up with some examples of maybe some things that if we're not really knowing our worth, what is that? Like, what are some of our symptoms? What are some
You
of our
know
things?
you know where I struggled in this, and I still do to a degree, but there was a time where, and you can relate to this too, when I had a handyman business,
Mhm.
and I felt like I wanted to charge a certain rate,
Yeah.
like an hourly rate. And, some people would be like, write a check, no questions asked. And then some people would like hem and haw about, the other guy was let a bit less and blah, blah, blah. So I always was like cringing, like, please pay me this
Yeah.
amount.
So I think that's number one. I
Yeah.
think that's good. That's so one of the symptoms of having a low kind of not knowing your worth is that you don't charge enough for what you do.
For whatever
And
service, yeah.
for whatever service. And we're not talking about people who are just I have actually gotten some invoices from people where I'm like, you guys are overcharging and that's crazy.
They clearly don't know their worth.
They don't know their worth to the other end of the degree.
Yeah.
So there's that proves our point a little bit. There are definitely two sides of the spectrum.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I think right now I'm talking to the people who don't know their worth on the lower end. And I agree. If you find yourself not feeling comfortable with charging what you in your heart believe that you should be charging, you have some work to do on trying to find your worth. And by the way, I'm not saying that, I'm saying I do too. So that I think that is a huge one. So that was a good one.
Yeah.
There's other things though.
The other thing that I just think of off the top of my head is like your position. So like I remember this was years ago, I was running a company, or like a branch of a company, and I had this young employee who said something like like I wasn't doing anything, like I wasn't working and she had to do all the work.
Mm.
And I immediately was like, you have no idea how much blood, sweat, and tears I've put into starting this company.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't there 3 years ago when I was working out of the garage.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you're not in a position to question. I'm the manager.
Right.
Like, you don't know what I do.
Right.
You don't know all the calls I get before work and after work.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know you don't have any information
Yeah.
to make that assessment.
So are you saying that number 2 is allowing people to tell you your worth?
I think it's and once again, it goes both ways, is like knowing your level of expertise or whatever position you're in and being confident in it.
Mhm.
And that can be hard too, because you want to maintain good relationship, and sometimes maintaining good relationship means standing up for yourself. And it might be awkward, but
So I would actually say that if we're going based on kind of the realm that I'm trying to stick with is number 1, knowing your worth on what you charge for your business. Number 2, knowing your worth enough to stand up to the person that says something different.
Yeah.
I really struggle with that. And I have in the past. And what's funny is I've learned a way to kind of do it where it's not aggressive and it's not mean and it's not angry, it's not emotionally driven. And that has worked for me in a lot of different places. But I do say number 2 would be it would be learning your worth so that when you stand up to somebody that you're working with or that you have a relationship with, that you can actually say these things and really truly believe them. Because if anybody's like me, the moment it comes out of my mouth, I'm like, do I believe that? Do I believe that? I don't know.
yeah. The third one I can think of is
Wow, you're doing pretty good at coming up with these, babe.
it's just coming to me. It must be the mint mocha. Decaf. So it's just the sugar and the Christmassiness of it.
Yep.
The third one I can think of is like knowing what you need out of a relationship and being able to ask for it.
Yes. Yep.
And you're totally agreeing right now because
Why? Why am I agreeing right now?
because this is you asking me or requesting that I give you what you need in our relationship.
This is me doing
Yeah.
that? Like today?
No, you're totally agreeing because you're like, yeah,
Oh.
and I'm going to hold you accountable to this.
No, I was not thinking that.
Because it depends on what kind of relationship you're in, whether you're a giver or a taker or whatever. But I feel like a lot of times people don't want to, like, either they
Ask.
don't know what they want, or they're afraid to ask or make that request.
I think everybody knows what they want. I think that many people have been taught to um, devalue what they want. So they don't recognize that it's actually important to request things in a relationship to make a good relationship. So unfortunately, we're teaching people to devalue themselves as we say, don't worry about that. You need to be doing this, follow the rules, do this, do this. And we're teaching people to devalue themselves, and we're not teaching them that this is actually really bad behavior for relationships.
I think
You have to request what you want.
I think it's not, for me, it's not necessarily like we're teaching them. I think that if there's like an insecurity in the relationship.
I'm talking about kids.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm talking about kids. I'm
Okay.
talking about we
Gotcha.
don't teach kids enough to
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
value their needs.
Yeah, it's more like, just get in line,
Yeah. Yeah.
instead of like, but I really have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
No, I totally agree with that. Sorry. I
I'll
misunderstood.
no, but I'll give a really embarrassing story in order to
I know
make
this
this more
story.
interesting. Don't do you?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, of course, you know
Yeah.
all my stories. Um, but this is a good example of I did not value myself enough as a young kid. I was very, very young. I mean, I'm thinking I was probably 5 or 6. Well, I had to be in school, so I was probably like 6. So I had to go to the bathroom really bad. Like I had to pee really, really, really bad. And I knew recess was coming up. And so I was trying to hold it for recess. But I finally realized I was not going to be able to hold it because I
Mm.
really had to pee. So I went up to the teacher in the back. She was more like a teacher's aide, right? But she was there every single day with the teacher.
So she was probably a mom.
No, no, no. She was definitely a teacher of some
Oh, okay.
sort.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, she was definitely a teacher. So I went up to her and I was like, "Hi, Miss So and so. I really have to go pee." And she got really rough all of a sudden, like really fast at to my 6-year-old brain. She was like, um, "Do you have to go really bad? Because unless you're, I forget what she said, but it was unless you're, like, dying, like, you need to make a good choice."
I mean,
And
there is nothing more offensive than a 6-year-old girl asking to go pee.
well,
So I
not
can
only
I can
that
kind of understand her,
not only that, but
her emotion there.
I was definitely not the kind of kid to fake that I had to pee all the
Yeah, you
time.
weren't the kid in class that had, like, the flat top and, like, gave everybody noogies,
No,
right?
and I was definitely not the kid that was like, "I have to go pee. I have to go pee." I
Yeah,
was not that kid at all. I was always scared to ask to go pee, clearly. I This was the one time I remember it was so bad that I
yeah.
had to ask, and then her reaction made me panicked, and I said, "Never mind, it's okay." And she was
Now
like,
she's like, "Yeah, I knew it, you faker."
yeah, so she was like, well, she was like, "Recess is just in a few minutes, like, just wait." So I was like, "Okay." So I go back to my desk. The last I was so I had to go pee so bad, it was painful. But
Just
the
let it
last
go.
thing I wanted to do was go ask again. And I peed right there on the desk and, like, on
Awesome.
the chair.
Did she have to clean it up?
What's
I
funny is
really hope so.
recess happened right after that, and I just went out for
Yeah.
recess and everything. I was a kid
See,
and
and
I didn't know.
unfortunately, when we're kids, we don't know ourselves well enough to be like, "Screw you, lady. I'm
Yeah,
going.
yeah.
And if you don't let me go, I'm gonna pee on you."
Well, the reason I even tell this story is because somewhere along the way, why didn't I was a child there, And so that makes sense. You know, as a child, a lot of times you're not going to stand up for yourself in that way. But the funny thing is I find that like as I've gotten older, those kinds of experiences didn't stop.
Yeah.
They just got different.
Yeah.
I would of course I mean, they just got different. And so when do we reach a point where we start asking for what we are worth. We start asking for what we need in relationships. We start asking for things that we need for our physical health. I mean,
Yeah.
that was my physical health that I was not willing to stand in the way of, right?
Yeah.
There
Really great teaching, lady.
there's a
Like here we are. You were 40, you were what, 6 years old?
6
So this
years.
is like over 35 years ago, and you're still telling the story. This lady's probably dead, right? She's
Yeah.
probably old and dead,
Yeah.
yet her legacy lives on.
I guess this really isn't about that lady, but it's about me not
Sorry,
knowing.
it just really like twinges my sense of justice, and I
No, I
want
get
to
it.
travel back in time
Well, because we
and
have daughters.
slap her. You know,
I kind of do too.
but you're
I
right.
kinda do too.
I want to teach our kids, and the thing is, we try to teach our kids this,
Yeah.
but they're still such rule followers that they didn't really like take to that lesson.
Yeah, but that's why I'm talking about this, because I actually recognize that now that we've kind of laid down some symptoms like of not requesting what we need, not requesting what all that, standing up for yourself, like we've kind of laid that out. There are ways that I have kind of come out of this a little bit. I'm not quite fully there, but I'm actively working on it. So maybe it is just that no matter, because with our kids, we definitely tried to teach them that, but there's still that struggle. So there's possibly everybody just deals with that internal struggle.
I think that there are like natural personality traits that are more conducive for just like taking a back seat.
I also think there's safety reasons within our psyche that we do things like that. There's, there's all sorts of, just like, the truth of the matter is that narcissists do not think about other people.
Yeah.
So narcissists, I was just talking with my psychologist friend the other day at lunch about this. And what we were recognizing is that,
you go to lunch with your psychologist?
She's not my psychologist. She's my friend. And she is a psychologist. Ben, you're so funny.
Is she really your friend if she's your psychologist?
You already tried this joke on another episode.
Did I?
Yes.
I did.
Are they really your friends if they're your clients?
I only have so many jokes, so I have to kind of recycle them. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, the funny thing is that we're sitting there and we're talking about like the difference between narcissists versus, there's a whole line of like narcissists don't obviously, they have a very, very intense understanding of, no, that's not the right word. They do everything for themselves.
Yeah.
Like they do everything for, like everybody is there for their purpose. Everybody is there. And I think we get on the opposite side of that, where everything is about giving and everything is about like all of that.
Yeah.
And we just need to have that balance in our lives where we recognize that, perhaps I have somebody in my life right now that I have a couple people in my life right now that I really need to have a strong conversation with and be like, hey, so I've kind of been sitting back, not saying anything, but here's some of the problems that I have in this relationship right now. Like, and I will, I'm have
right
to,
here, babe.
But
I mean, now's the time.
But I have to build myself up to it.
Yeah. I think sometimes you just got to pull the Band-Aid off.
Of course.
Just do it.
Yeah. You're not that person though.
I've been working on it.
Have you?
Yeah, I really have. I just did it yesterday.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to talk to somebody, and I decided instead of like dwelling on it for 2 weeks, I just went and talked to him about it. And it was like kind of scary. but I did it, and then it was done,
Yeah.
and I got to move on.
Mhm.
You know where I struggle with this though?
Hmm.
We've been talking about like knowing your worth in your relationship and standing up for yourself and everything. But here's the flip side. And it could be the way we were raised, because we were raised in a very like
Conservative.
Judeo-Christian servant, like love your neighbor type mentality, which is good.
Yeah. Sure.
But I think where I have struggled with this is if I feel like I need something, the angel and the devil on my shoulder, the devil's going, you need this. You should ask for this. At least this is my perspective. You should ask for this. You deserve this. And then the angel's going, gosh, that's so selfish of you.
Totally.
You know,
Yes.
that
Absolutely.
maybe you're overreacting. Maybe you're being selfish.
Mhm.
You should be more giving
Mhm.
and you should be more loving. The irony of this is now flip the roles of the angel and the devil.
Mhm.
Is it really the devil saying you need this? Or is it the
Mhm.
angel saying you need this?
Mhm.
And the devil's playing the advocate,
Mhm.
the devil's advocate, and he's saying like he's a wolf in sheep's clothing,
Yeah.
saying, and this is figurative. There's the little devil's on my shoulder. And in case you people who are listening don't know what's going on, I'm pointing at my shoulders. Maybe it's not the devil who's whispering, "This is what you need."
Yeah.
Maybe the devil's the one saying, "No, be less
Yeah.
selfish,
I 100%
be more
believe that can be.
giving,
Mhm.
stay in your place,
Yeah, because
don't ask for more." You know what
right.
I mean?
What ends up happening when we continue to devalue ourselves, what ends up happening, and this is not talking about that whole other concept of like, you know, um giving and caring for others. We recognize that, right? We recognize that in this conversation, we are very specifically talking about knowing our worth. So we're not talking about
I think
people
that's
who
pretty
are
clear.
okay. I just want to make sure. But the thing is that if we continue to devalue ourselves, then we are leading to anxiety, depression. We're leading to all of these things that people are dealing with on a regular basis. And so we're really causing trauma to ourselves when we don't step out and try and change these things. The problem is that a lot of the times in a way, we don't want to be working on ourselves that way.
It's hard. It's hard to.
What is that? Is
It's
it is
work.
it laziness? Is
It's
it
just uncomfortable.
fear?
I think people just don't want to be uncomfortable, and it takes being and I'm speaking for myself because I hate being uncomfortable. I'd much rather
I
just
know.
never talk about these things and just like
Yeah.
pretend like everything's cool.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. I feel like my perspective these days, just recently, it's like I try to picture myself in my deathbed when I'm, 53.
What?
Because that's, I mean, let's face it.
No, let's not face it.
I mean, I'm falling apart.
No.
Okay, when I'm 90 something. Okay. I'm just picturing myself in my deathbed. If I look back on my life and I go, I spent my whole life just trying to please others.
Yes.
And it got me nowhere.
Yes.
And I have nothing to show for it. Like what I should have done is stood up for myself and done the things I wanted to do.
right.
I have a friend who doesn't listen to this podcast because he's not a real friend, apparently. I have a friend who he knows exactly what he wants. He is a bachelor. He does not ever want kids. He wants a relationship where he doesn't have to he wants to be free. And I know that
He has
sounds
commitment issues.
it's possible, but it's not. I realize how it sounds, but it's not like that because he is in a relationship. But it's a relationship where they both agree that like they're not going to be codependent.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's wrong or right. What I'm saying is he knows what he wants. He puts it out there, and he found somebody who
Yeah.
respects it and also wants that.
So on which
And
side does this go to what we're talking about?
what I'm saying is I actually, I admire that about him because he's not a selfish person. He's actually a very giving, kind person. But he makes
But he knows
known
himself.
he knows what he wants. He knows what he believes is best for his life versus just trying to fit the mold of what society teaches you. It's weird for a guy or a woman, a man or woman to be like, I just don't ever want kids. Like it's not weird. Let me change that. It's not
Common.
very common for people to know at a young age, I never want kids.
It feels like it's getting more
And
common, but yes.
and to maintain it. I think a lot of younger people are like, I don't ever want kids, but then they get to like 30 and they start feeling that natural
Yeah.
urge to reproduce, which is natural,
Mm-hmm.
which I just already said. It's natural, in case you guys didn't catch it. But what I'm saying, it's not about wrong or right, because the only right is doing what is best for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it is right for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I admire about that about him. I don't think he might be on his deathbed someday, it's possible, regretting that he didn't have kids.
Mm-hmm.
But he probably won't be laying on his deathbed going, I spent my whole life trying to please other people
Mm-hmm.
and got nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So there's I want to like glean from that just a little bit from him just being super open about that. And I
Mhm.
want to tell you what I want.
What do you want?
I don't know.
Oh,
But as soon as I figure it out, I will tell you,
why don't you know?
because I was raised to not have desires.
And that's what our main issue is. That's
Yeah,
what our main issues
because
are.
desires are selfish.
Correct.
Desires are self-serving, they're earthly, and that goes against what you're supposed to be, which
Right.
is giving and loving and
Mhm.
sacrificial.
Mhm.
Which those things are good. That's the hard part.
That's the hard, but that's what I'm saying. It's never easy. Like this is why what we were talking about is that humans in a whole, we don't it's
Our brains are just too
it's tough.
Yeah.
It's there's no like that's why the harmony between humans, some people want it, some people don't. Some people, because we're never quite going to, but really what it comes down to is what I have found. The more I recognize what I truly want and what I truly desire, and the more of what I recognize in the sense of really knowing my worth and asking and requesting for that, the more that I actually become I become who I'm supposed to be, and I become stronger as a human towards other people, in the sense of I actually find that it's easier to care for other people when I know myself. I actually recognize that it's easier to have a really good conversation with another human being and love them and not judge them when I know myself best.
Yeah. Well, and the funny thing about that is if you think about the people that are the most attractive, not physical attraction,
Mhm.
appearance, but like personality,
Mhm.
it's people that are confident
Absolutely.
and real confidence.
Yeah.
Not like this fake confidence that you run into every day where it's clearly like a
Yeah.
front for major self-consciousness. Um, I'm talking about people who are living their lives who they are, and they're super confident and they make known who they are, what they believe, what they want, and they get other people to believe that too.
Yeah.
Like those are the most attractive people there are.
Mhm.
Um, so what is it about me that doesn't allow myself to go there?
I don't know.
Knowing that, you know what, I just need to put it out there.
Mhm.
And I'll probably get some haters, but for the
Mhm.
most part, it'll be a very attractive thing to people.
Yeah.
And maybe that would, translate into more success.
The fear of people. It always, always,
Yeah,
always,
fear of man.
the fear of man. So I mean, I think that some of the biggest things we can try and do is number one, if we've kind of grown up not knowing or being taught that we shouldn't have a lot of opinion or we shouldn't have a lot of wants or desires, then we need to start really recognizing. And I'm not talking about the silly desires or whatever that, like, are not healthy for us. I'm talking about really healthy desires that are true to our nature and are there for a purpose. They are there for a purpose to drive us into where we're supposed to go and who we're supposed to be. So we need to listen to those instead of quieting them.
Yeah.
And the way to do that, I think, this is what I have learned for me, is number one, I have actually spent some time going back into my childhood and thought about what the original wants and desires were for my life back then, because that was before all of the societal kind
Yeah.
of,
Before all the junk.
yeah, before all of the junk. So number one, I would make a list of all the things you really truly wanted as a kid, right? Did I say number two?
You're still on number one.
I'm still on number one. I meant that. Number two is I have also recognized that the more that I have unhealthy thoughts, and the more that I continue to allow these unhealthy thoughts and these negative thoughts to run amok in my mind, then they are a literal wall to all of the good thoughts and the good things that I can think of that will lead me into what I'm supposed to be.
Right.
Right. And then number three is really, what are you doing? Number three, I really think that we have to practice and put into practice really recognizing our worth in those different ways.
Yeah.
Requiring that if you believe you deserve a certain amount, then you deserve that amount. The second one was, if somebody calls you out, then you are it's important that you stand up for yourself and that you recognize when somebody should not be calling you out and you actually speak your mind. And number three is, what was the last one? It was that you have to, because it was a calling out. And then what was the last one? Remember?
I think it was like battling whether or not it's a legitimate desire in your heart.
No.
No.
Anyway, it's interesting because I think that we just have to get back down into the deeper parts of who we are, and kind of really stepping straight into that fear.
I think it was.
It was relationships and requesting
we talked
what you
about
want.
like our worth.
Yeah.
Like value. And
So
then,
I think that those things are really, really important. So I don't know. I feel like the whole human race would be a lot more harmonious if all of us understood our worth. Because again, when people understand their worth, then they are able to have the tough conversations. People who understand their worth show love better than anybody I've ever known.
Yeah, because you're not trying to fill whatever void.
You're not allowing
Is there.
insecurity
Yeah.
to make you feel as though you can't compliment this person, or or you can't tell them in truth what's going on. Like, it's one of those things that I find it so interesting.
Yeah, and it's a challenge for sure.
Well, it's a total balance, just
Yeah.
like everything else.
Yeah.
Well, Ben, what are you thankful for? Last little bit before we go.
I'm very thankful for my family
Yeah.
and the fact that we're all healthy,
Yes.
and that we get the privilege of having a life where we can just waste hours every week, spend hours every week just chatting
Oh,
like this.
like on a podcast?
Yeah.
Oh,
Like this is a privilege that most people
Yeah.
don't have,
yeah.
throughout the world.
Yeah.
Most people are just trying to survive.
Yeah.
And here we are drinking our Starbucks.
I'm just kind of thankful for I'm definitely thankful for our family. I'm definitely thankful for health. I'm also really thankful for all possibilities and opportunities that are to come.
Yeah, it's never over.
It's never over. We're never too old. It's never, you know what I mean? Like, and
Unless you're dead, then it's over.
is it?
I mean, for what we're talking about.
Okay.
All the
'cause
stuff we talk about
how
has
do
to
we
do
know?
with life.
Oh, you know that?
Yeah, because once you're dead, it's like you should just be
You don't
like
know that, Ben.
figure everything out.
Nope, you don't know
Unless
that.
you're like a
Nope,
wandering ghost.
you don't know anything about
I
the
wonder
afterlife.
if there's ghost podcasts. They're like, ooh, you should be a better ghost.
We do- And with that, we will leave you for having an amazing Thanksgiving, welcoming in the Christmas spirit.
Happy pre-Christmas, everybody.
Happy pre-Christmas.
Eat, drink, and be merry.
Have a bunch of green bean casserole until you want to puke. No?
Why'd you go straight to green bean casserole
I
when
love green bean
I
casserole.
feel like there's so many like stuffing, mashed potatoes, gravy.
I love green bean casserole.
Yeah, it's
I'm sorry. I'm sorry I did not make you happy enough with that response.
well, it's like you go straight to the weird dish.
Okay, thank you, babe. So anyway,
But you
I
know
thought
what?
it was better that we leave it at the ghost comment because that was cuter.
Okay, sorry.
They're having little ghost podcasts in heaven, apparently, or just right now. I don't know.
Hey,
Yeah.
everybody's going to be spending most of their weekend with their families.
Yes.
So just be cool.
Be cool, but honestly,
But also
know
stand up
your
for yourself
worth.
and know your worth.
Know your worth when you're
Ruin-
with family.
Ruin that conversation during Thanksgiving dinner when your racist uncle says something to you. You got to stand up.
Oh,
And be
stand
like-
up always against racism. Always.
Or if your parents are like, you're not doing what we raised you to do, or
no, know your
why
worth.
aren't you in a relationship yet?
Know what you want for your life so that you can stand tall and tell your family
Yeah.
to suck it.
And that you love them
And that you
despite that.
All right. Thank you guys so much. We will see you all next week. Bye.
Later.